What's going on, YouTube? Happy Halloween. Thomas L here, and I recently just did my 10 favorite horror movies of the 2010s, 2000s, and 90s. So now I'm doing my 10 favorite horror movies of the 80s. The 80s had loads of good films, where you talk about Back to the Future, Empire Strikes Back, countless others. But I think, like, the 80s was a pretty similar time for horror movies, and horror movies really the horror films in the 80s I thought was pretty decent. So, that being said, here is my 10 favorite horror movies of the 80s. Coming in at number 10 will be Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Now, the original Texas Chainsaw was released in the 70s, and that was the first major slasher film of that era. Leatherface he's such a cool killer, he's like a chain wielding maniac. He wears people's faces as masks. That's pretty cool. And the sequel got released in early 80s, and it's really good, It's not as good as the original, but it's still a decent one. Leatherface was amazing the second time around. He even had Caroline Williams in this. She's a pretty good horror actress. Let me pause on that. Hey, the part two was released in '86 and was, of course, directed by Tobe Hooper, who directed the original. It has a 45% Rotten Tomatoes. Damn, that movie is much better than 45%. He even had the likes of Dennis Hopper, Bill Moseley. Let's see. Bill Moseley in these movies is always good. Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 it's a pretty good sequel. If you still haven't, seen part 2 yet, like the kills in this are pretty cool, and it's loads of fun. I also really dug the other Texas Chainsaw films that came after this, but part 2 is where it's at. It's a really good one. Coming in at number 9 will be Hellraiser, which of course has the always great Doug Bradley as the role of Hellraiser. He pretty much has needles in his face. That's how cool of a killer he is. Now, let me pull up something. Hellraiser was released in 1987 and was directed by horror mastermind Clive Barker. Yeah, Hellraiser is like the kills in this is pretty decent. Doug Bradley gave such an amazing performance as the role of Hellraiser. And I'll be down to see some more Hellraiser films, probably like a reboot in the future. But the only time you ever really see more Hellraiser movies is straight to DVD, which are cool, but I'd love to see Hellraiser back on the big screen. And of course, after this, there was like a few other Hellraiser movies. There was one that had Henry Cavill in it. There was like a few other Hellraiser movies that came after this. Some of them was decent, and some of them was whatever. But the original is where it's at. If you guys haven't seen the original Hellraiser, check it out. A killer with needles in his face, that says it all. Alright, coming in at number 8 will be Sleepaway Camp. Sleepaway Camp is, I guess you could say, similar to Friday the 13th, where there's a killer who's targeting teens at camp. Sleepaway Camp is such a good slasher film. This came out I think it came out the same year as Friday the 13th. Let me double check. Oh, it came out in 19 a few years after Halloween. Yeah, Sleepaway Camp is such a good slasher movie. There also were a few others that got released after this, which wasn't all that great, but the original is mainly where it's at. It's such a good slashers. The kills in these are pretty decent. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen the original Sleepaway Camp, I highly recommend it. It's a really good slasher film. Coming in at number 7 will be The Evil Dead, which of course had Bruce Campbell. It was directed by Sam Raimi way before he did stuff like Spider-Man, Oz Grand Powerful. And of course it's about like a teen who finds a book in a cabin in the woods, and one of them like releases a spirit, and it possesses one of them, and all hell breaks loose. The Evil Dead it's actually rated. I think it's rated NC-17. Believe it or not. I mean, it's also it's gory. When I mean gory, I mean gory. Part 2 is a good one as well. And of course, there was the remake that got released, which I mentioned in my favorite horror movies of 2010s. Yeah, I just love Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell is just an amazing Ash, and it was cool seeing him back as Ash for that short-lived Starz series, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Still stinks that Starz got rid of that, but what are you gonna do? If you guys haven't seen like any of the Evil Dead movies, whether you talk about this one, the second one, Army of Darkness, give them a go. They're really good horror films worth checking out. All right, coming in at number 6 will be Pet Sematary. Now, to change subject, I cannot wait for that remake of Pet Sematary. Now, Pet Sematary is based on the book by Stephen King, and it's pretty much a cemetery where someone dies. You could bury them in that cemetery, but when they return, they're not going to be this same person that they were when they passed. I mean, this features an evil cat and an evil kid. Those are the two evilest things you'll see in this movie. I mean, Pet Cemetery is so darn creepy, and the kid will kind of terrify you in this. The cat, I mean, this movie made lots of people not even want to own a cat. And yeah, also Part 2 was pretty decent. I know lots of people don't really care for Part 2, but I kind of dug that. Oh, and Fred Gwynne, from the Munsters fame, he played the old man in this. Such an amazing role for him. I'm really curious to see John Lithgow as a role. I think that's going to be an interesting one to see. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen Pet Sematary, especially with the remake coming out, I highly recommend checking out the original. It is really creepy. When I mean creepy, I mean creepy. This movie teaches you one thing. When someone is dead, keep them dead. Don't bring them back. Don't if they come back, they're not gonna be the same person they were when they left. But yeah, Pet Sematary is where it's at. Check it out. It's super cool. All right, coming in at number 5 will be Poltergeist. Of course, the original. Now, Poltergeist was also directed by Tobe Hooper, who, like Wes Craven, he was a really horror mastermind. And Poltergeist was of course really cursed. I mean, when you talk about cursed movies, I mean it was cursed. It's like because lots of the actors in Poltergeist, mainly passed away. Um, there was also there's an urban legend that the bones was used in this movie were actual bones. Yeah, but Poltergeist, despite the whole curse thing, I think it's a classic horror film. Heather O'Rourke as a little girl in this. Shame she passed away too soon because she was really good as the little girl. You even had the late Dominic Dunn, who also sadly passed away at a very young age. She played the older sister. Can't remember the actor who played the brother. He was pretty good. You even had Craig T. Nelson. The one who plays like the short lady. I think the actress name is Zelda Rubinstein. She was amazing. And of course, there's lots of classic lines in this. Whether you talk about they're here. Come on, that's a really creepy line. And I'm also one of the few people who didn't mind that remake that got released with Sam Rockwell. But the original is where it's at. It's a classic. And if you haven't seen the original Poltergeist yet, I highly recommend it. It's really good. And it's creepy. Oh, and you're also not want to look. You're also not going to want to look at clowns and trees the same way. All right, coming in at number 4 will be The Shining, which is directed by Stanley Kubrick and got released in 1980s. It also starred Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall. It is a creepy film. It's like The Pet Cemetery. It's also based on a book by Stephen King, and it's a good film. It's super creepy. Jack Nicholson gave an incredible performance. I think he scored an Oscar nomination for this, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, there's the classic line, "Here's Johnny." Come on, who doesn't love that line? The hotel in this is a really creepy hotel. And of course, they're also doing like another Shining movie, which is being released in 2000s. I think it's called Doctor Sleep. Cannot wait for that, by the way. It has like Ewan McGregor and a few other people. But the original Shining is just incredible. It's such a classic. It's like I said, it's also really creepy. Stanley Kubrick, what an amazing director he was. He did such a cool job with this. If you guys haven't seen the original Shining, check it out. You'll probably enjoy it. Actually, not probably. You will enjoy it because it's. Who doesn't love The Shining? Maybe except for Stephen King, but that's another story. All right, coming in at number 3 will be A Nightmare on Elm Street. Of course, this is has Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger, who kills people in their sleep. Nightmare on Elm Street, it's a horror classic. Super cool that they have a horror movie about a guy who doesn't just go around slashing people when they're up. He slashes people in their sleep. And that's pretty cool. Robert Englund as Freddy is dynamite. He gave such an amazing performance as the role of Freddy Krueger. And to get off subject, I loved it when Robert Englund reprised his role on that Goldberg's episode last week. I simply loved that episode. Robert Englund back as Freddy, super cool. Robert Englund actually said that he'll be down to return as Freddy again in a movie. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but if it does, I'm all for it. And also, the original Nightmare on Elm Street had a young Johnny Depp in it. And who doesn't love that bed scene with Johnny Depp in it? Yeah. And the remake isn't all half bad either, but the original is where it's at. It's a class. It's an 80s horror classic. Alright, coming in at number 2 would be Child's Play. Now, I did my 10 favorite horror movies in the 90s, and Child's Play 2 was on that. But here, it's Child's Play, the original. And of course, it's about a mother who gets a dog, like a good guy dog, to her son, Andy. And the dog is pretty much a killer, and he kills. Yeah. Now, the way now it's pretty cool. The way Chucky became who he was is a regular serial killer named Charles Lee Ray. Got killed one night, and he transferred his soul into the dog, and then that's how he becomes Chucky. And Brad Dourif plays the role of Chucky, and he does a perfect job. He's been playing the role since the 80s. reprised the role again as Chucky in Child's Play 2, 3, Bride of Chucky, Sea of Chucky, Curse and Cult of Chucky. Brad Dourif as Chucky, I just simply adore. Now, there's also a remake of Child's Play, which isn't going to have Brad Dourif, which kind of disappoints me, but we'll see how good that Child's Play is. But the original is a classic. It's definitely one of my favorite horror movies of the 80s, and if you guys still haven't seen it, check it out. It's a horror classic, and the kills in these things are, Chucky is seriously a character you don't want to mess with. And he has a foul mouth. When the mother finds out that Chucky is really alive, Chucky really calls her every name in the book. Who knew how much of foul mouth Chucky had? Yeah, the one-liners by Chucky is always cool too. But yeah, all right, coming in at number 1 is a no shocker. I got The Mask, and also number 1 will be Friday the 13th, of course, the 1981. Now, spoiler for Friday the 13th, because I don't know, I rarely do spoilers on my top 10 list, but I'm going to do it here. So, spoiler for a 40 or 30-year-old movie. There we go. But in Friday the 13th, Jason's technically not really in the first Friday the 13th. It's his mother that does the killing. And that was seriously, lots of people, including myself, who first saw Friday the 13th, seriously didn't even saw that coming. That was a pretty cool twist towards the end. And Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees, who doesn't love Betsy Palmer as Pamela Voorhees? And also Kevin Bacon, a young Kevin Bacon was in this. Boy, it's pretty something how some of the high-profile actors like Johnny Depp, Jennifer Aniston, they all got their major start in a horror film. I found that pretty cool. And yeah, of course, Kevin Bacon's character, kind of like Kevin Bacon's character gets killed in bed. That's a pretty crazy kill. And I also think the other sequels that got released, Friday the 13th Choose, I dug. Manhattan's a guilty pleasure. Jason X is also kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. But the original is a horror classic, This movie makes a lot of people not want to go camping, Because like Sleepaway Camp, this movie, pretty much has Jason killing people. Not Jason, has the mother killing people in camp. And yeah, Friday the 13th, I simply adore. Hey, I got The Mask, so you could tell I'm a Jason fan. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my 10 favorite horror movies of the 80s. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. 9, Hellraiser. 8, Sleepaway Camp. 7, The Evil Dead. 6, Pet Sematary. 5, Poltergeist. 4, The Shining. 3, A Nightmare on Elm Street. 2, Child's Play. 1, Friday the 13th. Now, there's a few other ones I could have added. Y'all need to check out The Prowler. That's a really good 80s horror film. My Bloody Valentine. Slumber Party Massacre is a good one. Yeah, there's loads of awesome ones. Day of the Dead. 80s was a good time for horror then. Yeah, let me leave you guys. What are your favorite horror movies of the 80s? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas L. signing off.